Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fast cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Needy boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe. Warning reps, good setters. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Open chimes in, let's go deep. Young blood's rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream high. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Broadcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're more better. We're who cares? Trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy Gardi3, and welcome to the And One Podcast. Of course, joining us, just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? What's good, chat? Let's talk some hoops.
Say, what's good, Keith? Thank you for tuning in. Say, welcome to the show, sir. And look, we all know how we like to get underway. If you know, you know. If you're new here, we always start out with the underrated player of the week. Could be a current player, it could be a current team, or could be an old team if we want to go that route. So, why don't you get us kicked off, Mo? Who's your underrated player of the week this week?
I'm going to go with a different guy this time. My underrated player this week is a guy who had one of the most amazing, I would say, month and a half runs, maybe in NBA history. He went from nowhere to being everywhere. I'm going with Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin, who played for multiple teams, but what he's most known for is his stint with the Knicks. Obviously, Jeremy Lin, the creator of Linsanity. If you know the story, if you don't know, go to YouTube, type in Jeremy Lin, and there's multiple videos about what Jeremy Lin did in a month. For about a month and a half, Jeremy Lin was an all NBA caliber performer, outperforming the very best point guards and wing players in the NBA throughout that month. Linsanity became a real thing. He was putting up monstrous numbers against the very best of the best. It was short-lived. It was that month and a half, and then he kind of went back to being not a bad player, but an average player. But in that moment, for that run, that whole Jeremy Lin run, that was an amazing moment. If you're a Hoops fan, so that's my guy for this week. I'm going to go with Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, Linsanity. That was a great time to live in. Well, okay, so I lived in New York, upstate New York, but it's still in New York during that time, and there's a lot of excitement about Jeremy Lin when he was going nuts. That was such a treat to watch. So honestly, can't go wrong. One of the few bright spots in those mellow Nick years.
Do you remember when Linsanity was at its peak, and there were Knicks fans saying that they should trade Melo?
Yeah, that was wild. And don't forget, Jeremy Lin is one of the boldest people on the planet because, look, he didn't lack confidence. He went to the Lakers, and on a game winner, he waved off Kobe, who was calling for the ball.
I remember that. Yeah, that was crazy.
I remember like watching that, and the first time I saw it, he waved him off. I'm like, he better hit this. You're waving off Kobe. You better be money with the next shot. And to his credit, he hit it. So,
I mean, he hit it, and it was a great moment for him. But Kobe, I had to believe there was a really quick conversation. Never do that again.
yeah, pretty much like, hey, good job. No, don't do that again.
Right.
Say, no, my underrated player of the week so far is it's actually a rookie. So I saw somebody naming their rookie of the year odds, and their top four was Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Con Knuppel, and Derek Queen for rookie of the year. And look, I think that all four of those guys are doing great, and I think most of them deserve to be there. But I just don't think you can have a top four for Rookie of the Year voting so far and not include the Memphis Grizzlies and Cedric Coward. So he's giving you 14 a game on 50, 40, 90 shooting splits, 68% true shooting. Been playing at a very high level for them from the wing position in a time where it's just crazy and unstable in Memphis. He's been their like biggest bright spot of the year so far. So my underrated player of the week is Cedric Coward. And if you're not, watching him, probably should start. He could very well be something special.
I love the Cedric Howard selection. Look, like you said, this is a very unstable time for the Grizzlies as an organization, not knowing where they're going. They're at a crossroads. But a bright spot has been the play of this rookie. He's come out of nowhere, and he's been really their most consistent player. You can make an argument. Actually, there's an argument to be made. I'd give him more minutes. This kid can flat out play. And you talked about the shooting splits and how well he's played offensively. I'd argue he's already their best defensive player in terms of on the perimeter. He's been their best perimeter defender. This guy is a gem. And look, in a tough year, at least to a start of this season, Cedric Coward has been one of the biggest surprises in all the NBA.
So Oladipo is on the Bucks G League team, so I saw that. Maybe I'll have to go up there and watch them play. So thankfully, I only live an hour away from where the Wisconsin Herd plays, so that'd be a cool experience. I always love watching Oladipo.
I look, you love great comeback stories. He's one of the guys that I'm absolutely rooting for.
No, I completely agree. If you know, say a lot of people don't know or don't remember just how good, when he was at the peak of his powers, how good Victor Oladipo was leading that Pacers team to take LeBron James to 7 games in the 2010s. No easy feat. So just one of the best two-way wings like the year before he started suffering those injuries. So it's so unfortunate with Oladipo. Would have loved to see what his career was if it stayed fully healthy.
Oh, look, insane first step. Just the burst and the blow by on both ends of the floor. His ability to recover when he's beat off the dribble to meet you at the point of attack, just a special talent. And the fact that the injuries robbed him and cut his career short. And I've been watching him get back into the league, but not quite be the player that he was. Look, I hope he makes it back through the Bucks system. And he doesn't have to be Victor Oladipo at his peak. If he could just be a player that could be effective for them in a rotational position or in a role like that, I still would be rooting for him. The same way I rooted for what is the young man that played for the Warriors, had the massive injuries. Livingston. Sean Livingston was somebody that I rooted for. There's certain guys that they get these major injuries and then they bounce back and they readjust their games to find a way to have an NBA career. And I want that for Victor Oladipo.
And it's one of those things that there's a spot now on Milwaukee. Torian Prince is now out for a significant amount of time with a neck strain. So it's one of those things where if he can play a role effectively, there is an opportunity to maybe get on the team and sneak some minutes right now. Say got a comment complaining about putting the Heat as an airball and excuses. According to Heat fans, they ran the East alongside Boston.
What? That's wild.
I wouldn't say they ran the East, but all right. I get the argument I get the argument that they're making, I guess, because they made those 2 finals runs, but at the same time, I'm not sure I'd go as far as to say they ran the East.
Yeah. Well, they did go to multiple finals during LeBron's time there. And obviously they won 2 titles. So I give credit where credit is due, but that was a while ago, Heat fans. It's been a minute. You know what I mean? LeBron hasn't played there in a minute.
Say, and the 2 they've been to this decade, that's just such a funny thing to say, because my response could easily be, yeah, but the New Jersey Nets made back-to-back finals in the mid-2000s, and nobody said they ran the West or East, so...
Right. And look, I get it. The two finals runs, when Jimmy Bucket was the guy, those were impressive. But anybody that's being objective, and I know that's hard for Heat fans, is come on, those were like amazing runs, but nobody thought like the Heat are about to dominate the East for the next 4 or 5 years. That's not what that was. But I give them credit for the fact that they went on those amazing runs.
Absolutely. I need a regular segment from Brett, the Portis Report.
I like that.
You know what? That sounds great. It's funny. Right now, I'm still trying to figure out if Bobby Portis fits with the team. It's rough still. He hasn't adjusted to a faster pace all that well. Hey, what's going on, Coach?
My guy, Coach.
Say, my Bucks just lost to his Rockets last night. Unfortunate, but you know what? We'll bounce back. Like I said, we're just going to need to be in the market for a wing now with the absence of Torian Prince, and Kevin Durant just really exposed that. Just shot right over the top of everybody when he got the chance, and Sengun. Saying they weren't even a playoff team outright. They got in via play-in. Right.
That's a good point. Isn't that crazy that they had to win the play-in, beat Chicago, and then they ended up going to the final? Again, that was an amazing run. But even Heat fans, if they're being honest, were like, they didn't see that team going to the finals. Like Jory just pointed out, they just were in the play-in to make the playoffs. It was just a crazy, crazy postseason that year.
Okay, I'd say it was a good game. Surprised we're this good, even without having a point guard. Hey, I gotta give Reed Shepherd some credit. He started off a little rough, but he's come along these last 5 games. So,
it's funny. I don't know if you saw the game where Houston played the Spurs. Watching that back and forth, both of those, it kind of exposed the fact that both of those teams are in desperate need of a consistent point guard. Obviously, the Spurs just got back De'Aaron Fox, so I think that's going to open up more opportunities for Wemby. But with Houston, if there's a weakness in their armor, it is the fact that they don't have a true facilitator. And when you try to make KD a primary facilitator, there'll be just as much bad as there is good, because he gets picked a lot because he's got a very high dribble.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think great weekend for Coach. I like having a psychopath as a point guard better than pocket holding ham sandwich. Hey, look, Darvin Ham will go down in infamy. He'll always have the greatest huddle of all time. Because go hard on them, dudes. Salute. 10 out of 10 pep talk in the middle of a game. Say, Oh, and on some great news though, Mo, Anthony Edwards is back. He's looked really good in his return from injury. Blew out the Utah Jazz, which is something they should have done. But say what? Do you think that the return of Anthony Edwards is? What do you think the ceiling is, kind of, for this Timberwolves team?
I think that it's been impressive if you think about the last couple of seasons that Anthony Edwards has gotten the Timberwolves to the conference finals. Not because he's not a special talent, it's because if you look at their roster top to bottom, they don't win with their offense because they don't have a high-powered offense. A lot of what they do is about their defense and the pace of play, because outside of Anthony Edwards, name another player on that roster that can consistently create their own offense. Like Julius Randle can do it in spots, but I don't consider him a perimeter player, even though he's their second best offensive player. They don't have a lot of perimeter talent on that team, period. They don't have a lot of shot creation on that team. And I think at some point, if they don't get another guy in there, other than Anthony Edwards, I think that the two deep runs they've had these last two seasons, if this roster is going to be what they take throughout the season, I don't think they're going to be able to pull that off again this year, because I think the West is better than it was the last couple of years. I think you have a team in San Antonio that I told people they're going to be in the playoffs, period. I'm not talking about a deep playoff run, but they're going to be in the postseason. If San Antonio is whole, in the continued development of Harper, along with what you already have on that roster, the addition of De'Aaron Fox and Wemby doing what he's doing, I think San Antonio is a top 4 team in the West. I think they're a top 4 team like right now in the West.
No, and I can absolutely see it. I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to adapt. We've seen that teams aren't letting Wemby get those one-on-ones anymore. It's doubles, traps. They're making sure that Wemby's just not getting shots close to the basket. So I'm curious to see how the Spurs just continuously adjust the ever-changing strategy of guarding Wemby. It's an interesting chess match for sure.
Well, I think what teams has realized is he's difficult to guard when he's on the move. But when he goes to a spot like the mid post or the elbow, he's easier to defend. But when Wemby's on the move, it's almost impossible to stop him. And I think the Spurs have got to find different ways to get him on the move more versus trying to go traditional style and have him post up. He's not really a good post up player. He's 7'5", but he doesn't really get you with post up moves, because when he posts up, he ends up still taking a jump shot anyway. We have to remember that this guy's still developing, and even though he's put on some weight, he's still one of the probably one of the skinniest guys in the NBA. So when people go, Wemby's too big to be being pushed around, I would like to remind people he's tall. He's not big. Like, even on his own team, I would argue that Castle is probably physically stronger than Wemby is, even though Wemby's 7'5". I think we have to remember that Wemby's still growing into his body. He'll get stronger over time, but it's not going to happen like in 1 year. So, again, I think they're legitimate playoff contenders. I'm not saying a title contender because the core is so young, but I do think the sky's the limit when you've got back-to-back Rookie of the Years, and then you've got Dylan Harper, who's already a natural. Like, there's some guys who are built for the next level. Dylan Harper is built for the NBA game. The addition of Harper allows guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, who are talented in their own right, but they're in their proper roles. So again, look at the West. When you get past Oklahoma City, when you get past Denver and Houston, why aren't the Spurs the fourth best team in the West?
Hey, and you know what? That's fair enough. Even though it's not anything. Just want to mess with you right quick. 49ers did great yesterday.
Coach is taking shots. That's fine. That's cool. Yeah, they took an L. They lost to a team that I think is just one of the hottest teams in football right now. And if you can't get to Matthew Stafford and get him off his get him off his where he can just step back and launch. If you let Stafford just sit back and pick you apart, you're gonna lose. You got to make him move, or you got to get to him. And the Rams did a great job of protecting him. Not to mention they had the run game to complement him. They just beat the. I don't want to go into this because it's the NBA, but the better team won.
Yeah, hey, you know what? There's one thing I don't think he can mess with you about anymore, though. The one thing is the Lakers passing up on Cam Whitmore, because the more I watch him, I'm just convinced that Cam Whitmore just isn't a 5-on-5 player, which is fine. You see those players, some are like better 1v1 or 3v3 players. I think that's just Cam Whitmore. His tunnel vision is crazy. He's an uber talented scorer, but he just never really fleshed out his game so far outside of being able to shoot and score.
Yeah, look, my concern for Cam Whitmore, by the way, he's still a very young player, but my concern is that his career is going to go down the path of Michael Beasley, who was similarly very gifted. Like, again, if we just rank players on talent, Michael Beasley had all the talent in the world to be a superstar. It's never about his talent, but it's the way that he played the game, the way he saw the game. He struggled within the team concept. And Cam Whitmore seems to be the same way. Incredibly gifted, but basketball is not just a game of one-on-one.
So it was a Luka Garza legacy game. That was great to watch. 16-8. My Magic, they're struggling right now. They'll get there.
Man, they're looking bad.
In all my years of college players, I've never seen a more pass-averse player truly special.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to see that now, and I feel like you mentioned Michael Beasley. I was going to make a similar comparison. To me, he's almost going to be getting down that Cam Reddish rabbit hole where it's, oh, he's young, he's got potential, he can score the ball really well, but it's just, I don't think it ever fleshes out really, unless they put him on like a six man that just they tell him to go shoot.
Well, the funny thing about Reddish is I think the NBA pundits have given Reddish more grace than any player I know, because before it was Reddish is going to be a superstar. And then it was Reddish is going to be one of the top 3 and D guys in all the NBA. He's just a versatile defender. And that's what's kept him in the league. And everywhere he's gone, every team has said that he's so talented. This is going to be his NBA home. And Cam Reddish is going to be one of those guys when it's all said and done. He's going to have a lot of uniforms next to his name when you look him up. It isn't about the talent. He just can't seem to put it together on a consistent basis. The most consistent thing about Cam Reddish is he's incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah, say him and Christian Wood may be the most I've ever seen two players just get chance after like chance with hype, right? I'll never forget when your Lakers signed Wood, and the first conversations I started hearing was, man, he's going to be a sneaky all-star. Breakout. He can space the floor next to Anthony Davis. So like, oh. Well, if you're expecting all-star from Wood at this point, I don't know what to tell you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Christian Wood even in the league right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah. The thing about Christian Wood is he's one of those guys that when there's low expectations or he's on a really bad team, he puts up a lot of empty calories. And then a team that's a contender or thinks they're a contender picks him up, puts the pressure of high expectations on his shoulders, and he folds like a cheap seat. That's just what he is. He's just one of those guys that he's meant to be a big fish in a small pond.
Say no, fair enough. Wood can fill out that big 3 paperwork too.
I think Kyle's correct. I'm not so sure he'd do good in the big 3 because they allow a lot more contact, and he don't want none of that.
Say probably DeAndre Hunter. Okay, yep, that's fair enough, Coach. I'd say I do like DeAndre Hunter. It was a great move for the Cavs to scoop him up last year. And Lonzo Ball this year. Hey, Mo, this could be the year. Cavs finals run.
Look, in the East, anything's possible.
No, absolutely. Also, reports came out that apparently Nico Harrison. Let's get the right Texas dude in here. Nico Harrison. Apparently, his seat is getting hotter. The Mavericks just had their first game that didn't sell out, I believe, since 2001. So, I guess Mo, how do you think it's a matter of time before Harrison is gone, or does he find a way to hang on?
This guy's in a tough spot. He's in a really tough spot because he's got to justify the Luka trade. But the guy that was the centerpiece of the Luka trade is Anthony Davis. And once again, AD's injured again. And the Mavericks are not what everybody projected them to be. By the way, I'm excluding myself because I told you before the season started, I didn't think they were going to be that good. I didn't understand the hype behind them because you don't have any kind of guard play. You can't win with no guard play. They have no shot creation in that roster at all. Everything is centered around Anthony Davis and a rookie. And this, no shade on Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg's a really good basketball player, but he's not good as your primary ball handler. That was a dumb idea. He's not a point guard. He's not a natural facilitator. And having Cooper Flagg play in all these cross matchups, chasing after quicker guys, is just stupid. The Mavericks are a really big team. They have a lot of size. And the funny thing is they are a good defensive team, but they're a god-awful offensive team. And the guys they rely on to make shots can't make shots. Klay Thompson, look, right now, Draymond Green is a better jump shooter between the two of them. I look at the Mavericks, and now everybody is saying, wait till Kyrie gets back. And I'm like, you're putting everything on the legs of a 33-year-old point guard whose super talent is his quickness and his ability to change directions. But you're expecting him to be the same Kyrie immediately. That's not realistic. I think Nico Harrison's in a bad way because he needs to make a move to benefit their future. But if he makes a move for the future, it's going to affect their present. And so if they're bad or mediocre for the rest of the season, he probably gets fired. But if you stand pat and you ride with Anthony Davis as your centerpiece who will be in and out your lineup, and let's say Cooper Flagg just has a really good rookie year, but not this transcendent year that people expect of him, the Mavericks are probably going to be in the play-in. I'd fire you. You traded away Luka, and we're in the play-in a year or so later, yeah, you're fired. Right now, I'm going to say something that a lot of people would disagree on. But if it were me and I'm Nico and I'm trying to roll the dice to keep my job, he's already done a couple things that are unthinkable. Why not go all in? If I were him, I trade Anthony Davis. I would trade Anthony Davis for assets that could help Cooper Flagg going forward.
I kind of felt bad when they thrusted the entire playmaking load onto him, but you could tell right away that they didn't have a plan with that. When they're like, yeah, PJ Washington primary ball handler duties, you knew they just didn't have any idea except let's give it to Cooper and see what happens. And if you look back, even your most hyped rookies still come in looking like rookies.
Right.
You had LeBron coming in as the chosen one, and he couldn't really lead the Cavs anywhere good that first year. The offense wasn't great, which obviously that's not on LeBron. At that point, he's just a rookie. So I just think it's so rare to be able to throw a rookie in there and have him contribute at a high level immediately, and also lead a playoff team like Nico wanted. It just feels like he didn't do enough, and at the end of the day, he should be out of there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think that he had unrealistic expectations of the roster that they had to put out there. I think he thought that AD was going to be giving you about, let's say, 26 points a game, 12 rebounds, which he's capable of. But again, this is an older Anthony Davis. And then I think that he put too much pressure on Cooper Flagg. I think Cooper Flag is better as the guy that finishes plays versus the guy that starts plays. And I think they've misplaced him in terms of what he can do offensively. I still think he's going to be a terrific player, but I'm looking at the Mavericks, and I'm saying you might the smart move would be to start trying to make moves for your future and not try to sell your fan base on wait till Kyrie gets back and watch us take off. I just don't think that's realistic.
And at this point, at the rate they're going, wouldn't even bother bringing Kyrie back. Like, no, you're good, Kyrie. Just rest your leg.
Kyle said, put the ball in D'Lo's hands.
We know how that goes.
No, but you know what? If by putting the ball in D'Lo hands, that sounds like Nico's going to go with my idea. But because clearly, if you're going to make D'Lo your main primary facilitator, you've already given up on the season.
And there's a lot of great prospects in the upcoming draft. Soon we'll be bringing back puppy prospects, and yeah, they honestly at this point feels like the Mavericks should just be focused on tanking. Put yourself in the best position to get one of those high-level prospects to pair next to Cooper Flag.
Facts. He needs a running mate, and this is no shade on. They do have good role players, but they don't have another star right now to pair with Cooper Flag consistently. And like I said, Cooper Flag's 18 years old. Anthony Davis is 32. Kyrie's 33. They're not going to be teammates for long. So that unless you really, really believe in your heart of hearts that the Mavericks were going to go to the finals this year, which they weren't. Even with a healthy Kyrie, they weren't going to the finals. That's not. Again, that's pie in the sky fantasy stuff. They're not that kind of team. You know who could take them to the finals? He plays for the Lakers now. That's Luka.
Yeah, and it's just a rough stretch for Dallas. So, it might be in their best interest if I'm a Mavericks fan. Well, it seems like all of them are starting to tune out at this point, but at this point, you can just hope the losses pile up because that's the best way to get Nico out of there. They already did step one, ending a 25-year sellout streak. Nothing will make ownership listen faster than losing money.
Agreed.
So I don't think, especially ending the sellout streak, I don't think that Nico's long for Dallas. Which one bad GM down. Not next, you guys got to work on the Dallas Mavericks. I mean the Cowboys.
That's good.
But that GM is not going anywhere, unfortunately. So,
hey, look, 2 out of the 3 Texas teams are playing at a high level. So look, it's tough to get all 3 of them like that, but the Spurs and the Rockets are both playing really good basketball, and they're not even playing their best basketball because both teams aren't entirely whole. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's another guy who I think's gonna end up going. I can't imagine Jamal Mosley has too much longer of a leash for the Magic, right? Like, I feel like that he's gonna end up getting fired out like the All-Star break, if not sooner.
I don't want. I just feel like he's a good coach, but I feel like the expectations of what everybody thought Orlando was going to be because of the addition of Desmond Bane, it's put pressure on him, the coaching staff, and the players. And to this point, they just haven't lived up to it. And you can tell just in the play, like I'm not exaggerating. Like Palos had a good year, but not an efficient year. Same for Franz. And Desmond Bane right now, here's the scary part. Desmond Bane, the way he's shooting right now, you couldn't tell the difference between Desmond Bane and KCP. They're the same guy right now, and that's not good.
Yeah, it's funny. Jamal Mosley probably still could be a coach of the Magic for a while, but it almost feels like that he just needs an offensive coordinator, just somebody who can get the offense going and mainly just be a little more creative, a little more ball movement, a little more player movement. It feels like the team does play under him. It just feels like that he needs a little boost on the offensive end, structure-wise. Can't just mismatch on all game.
And maybe it's as simple as they need more floor balance on both sides of the court, because when I look at Orlando, just go with their starting lineup. There's really only one guy that does the dirty work on that team, and that's Jalen Suggs. Paolo and Franz, they're primarily offensive talents. They're not, and I would say they're both subpar defenders. They're not good defenders. Desmond Bain has proven to be a capable defender, but he hasn't played well this year. They do need to improve the offense, but I think they've taken a major step back defense. They've always been like the last couple of years, Brett, they've been like a top 5 defense. This year, they're like middle of the road. So they don't have an identity. They're not very good offensively, but they're not very good defensively, and that's what they were known for. So I think you're right. Unless there's a shift, Jamal Mosley will get fired before the All-Star break.
Bain shooting 29% from 3. He's Clay minus Megan the Stallion.
So that means Clay's actually better than him because he's got Megan the Stallion.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Say, hey, shout out on top of the Luka Garza game too. Shout out Jaylen Brown. He's holding his own as the number 1 option. He's doing the best he can. And this team looks like it desperately needs Tatum back, but you know, Jaylen Brown's been a lot better as a number 1 option than I thought he would be. I want to put that out there.
I'm a Jaylen Brown fan. I think to me, he's been what I thought he would be. The guy that's disappointed me a little, and he's a guy that never disappoints me because I think he's a consummate overachiever. But for this particular season and the expectations that I had for him, I think Derek White has kind of struggled so far early into this season. I still expect him to turn it around because he's a really good basketball player. But he's struggled with his shooting. He hasn't been as efficient as he has in recent years. And I don't know if that's because he's taken on more of an offensive role, but I need Derek White to step it up.
Just tread water until Tatum comes back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things. This is kind of why when people started to have those conversations when everybody was healthy and they're like, is Derek White an all-star? I'm like, he's a star in his role, but not an all-star. Like, I think, you know, when Tatum's there at Brown and everybody's there, Derek White is just in his perfect role. But as soon as you have to make him like the lead guard, he just looks in over his head. So, no, I completely agree with that. He needs to play better. But honestly, he just might be one of those guys that looks rough until Tatum comes back.
You know what? You've pointed this out to me time and time again as a Bucks fan that it's they're very similar, right? The Drew Holiday and Derek White. When you have them in their perfect role, they're terrific players. But when you try to make them a little bit more than what they are, like when you try to make Drew the number 2 option, that's not Drew. Drew's not that kind of scorer, and so the numbers will be there, but the efficiency won't. He'll shoot a bad percentage. I think that's what's happening with Derek White. That when Derek White can be more like that 3rd option rather than have the pressure of being the number 2 option, it's waning on him. And look, it's a big gap there when a guy like Tatum's not there. Kyle is right. Miles Simons has been exactly what I thought he would be coming off the bench as a 6th man. Which, by the way, if you want Miles Simons, if you appreciate his game, 6th man is a perfect role for him on a title contending team. If the Celtics had Jason Tatum back fully healthy and they had a Miles Simons to come off the bench with Pritchard, that would be insane.
Say it's great to see him playing so well on the other hand too for the Celtics because look, I know he's making a decent amount of money and there were talks about trading him, so it's maybe the biggest win-win that he's playing as well as he is because either A, his value's just going up so they can move him at the deadline, or maybe he is a long-term piece that you hold on to for when Tatum comes back. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him because I know he's been a hot topic when it comes to trades. Say him, there's definitely a lot of good places for him to go. And also, I wouldn't be shocked if to see the Grizzlies move on from even guys, you know, like KCP and some of their vets at the deadline. But Is it weird to think that maybe they shouldn't move on from their vets because it's already a young locker room. They need vets in there, so I want to see how find it interesting if they like hold on to the vets to help guide the young talent, or are they just going to move on from them on the first chance they get?
No, I think having a veteran presence in your locker room on your bench is important. But Memphis is in a really unique situation because the face of their franchise, you don't know where his future is. And look, I'm at the point I can't speak to Memphis's management and what they're thinking. It's time for this divorce to happen, that you move on. And you don't have to place blame on person A or person B. It's just time for these two sides to separate. I think that I will say this: if you trade John Morant in Memphis because they're a small market team, if you trade John Morant, you don't stop there. If you trade Morant, then you need to go ahead and trade Jaren Jackson too, because Jaren Jackson can't be your best player. He's not, and he makes the kind of money to where you're a small market team, and all he's going to do is keep you in the lottery as your best player. So if you're going to trade John Morant, you trade Jaren Jackson to start a full-on rebuild. And there's a lot of teams that would take a Jaren Jackson. I would argue that there might be as many suitors for Jaren Jackson as there would be for John Morant.
I think right now there might be more suitors for Jaren just because, look, at the end of the day, he's been their most consistent player. He's been there every game. He's been playing at a high level. I think John Morant is still, probably just the better player. You have a higher ceiling with Ja than Jaren Jackson, but there's something to be said about just being consistently there and giving a team a consistent high level of play on defense. So
I think John Morant is he's the more must-see player of the two. He's certainly the more explosive scorer. That's not even close. That's not in question. But Jaren Jackson can give you 25, 30 on a given night. And what makes him different from Ja is he's capable of being an all-NBA defender. He's proven that. And Ja's not going to do that for you. I'm not questioning John Morant's talent. There's no doubt he's talented still. There's no doubt that his floor is he's an all-star caliber player. The ceiling could he get himself back to where he was a superstar? There was a time where we were talking about John Morant as a face of the NBA. The only question is, again, what is the best destination? Because you need to pair him with someone who I think is as good or better than him on the perimeter. And there's a short list of perimeter players that you could see making that work. Anthony Edwards could make that work. I think a guy like Cade Cunningham could make that work. But it would have to be that type of situation. The question is, because ego is everything sometimes in the NBA, could John Morant's ego handle going somewhere where he's not the man? That he's an important part of the team, but he wouldn't be the number one option.
John's just tough because my question when it comes to John Morant is pretty simple. Obviously, I know he's able to elevate his game and scale up when he's the best player. Some stars, though, that are so ball dominant have trouble almost scaling down and playing with other superstar players. And with John's jumper just being as shaky as it has been and with how much he needs the ball in his hands, it makes me wonder just like how good could Ja actually play with another ball dominant, teammate?
No, that's fair.
He almost needs to go somewhere where he can still dominate the ball, but have somebody better than him who's just equally as good as playing off of it.
Right. And look, I'm just throwing out names because if you really break it down and really analyze what Minnesota and Detroit do, they're both middle of the road in terms of pace, which doesn't bode well for John Morant's skill set. John Morant needs to go somewhere where they play up tempo and they play fast. Minnesota and Detroit don't do that. And you're right. If Anthony Edwards has got the ball in his hand and John is playing off the ball, if I'm playing Minnesota, I'm giving John Morant all the jump shots in the world. If I'm playing Detroit, I'm giving John Morant all the jump shots in the world. So yes, it does matter where you pair him, but it also matters the style of play they are, how fast they play. I think he's built to play at a higher pace than most.
Sounds like Trey Young a little. That's one of the questions I have about Trey Young too. Can you actually play with another superstar? Hey, Ja, welcome to Utah. There you go.
We joked about that before, and I know you guys kind of went over that on Passion and Precision. Look, it's one of those moves that wouldn't shock me if he ended up in Utah, but at the same time, it's also one of those moves where I would look at Danny Ainge and go, Danny, you know this is not going to work. You know that's not going to work. John Morant's not going to get excited about playing with Lauri Markkanen. He's certainly not going to get excited about playing in Utah. Nobody's ever gone to Utah to play basketball of their own free will. I think they move on from him. And remember, the perfect trade for Ja isn't necessarily the perfect trade for the Grizzlies. It's not on the Grizzlies to go, we're going to send you somewhere that's a perfect fit for you. That's not how it works. They're going to send him somewhere where they get the best return.
Hey, you know what? The Houston Rockets need a point guard. Say Ja to Houston. I saw quite a few people trying to tease that into existence.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What would Houston give Minnesota in return? What are they offering in return in that trade? What are you giving back? Are you giving back like a couple of picks and you giving back Jabari Smith and Torrey? Like, what are you giving back in return?
Say, probably picks, and I'd imagine picks some of their like lower end prospects because they're definitely not getting like someone like a Jabari Smith level player, but say they got quite a bit of talent at the end of their bench. That's kind of the problem with trading Ja right now, though, right? Because at the end of the day, every trade, I'm just like, okay, maybe you can still get a first and some salary filler. It just feels like you're not getting a lot of value for the talent that Ja is.
I think it's harder to trade him to a contender. It usually is. Like, I feel like what's going to happen is he's going to end up playing for like, and I hope I'm wrong, but playing for Sacramento. You know what I mean? Like, because the Kings picks are valuable.
Jeff Green and some barbecue. Yeah, pretty much.
And that's the crazy part. But I think that's when a player gets devalued to a degree. Yeah, nobody's going to return one of their star. They're not going to go star for star. You're not going to get that kind of trade.
No, absolutely. So that'll be exciting. I know people are still trying to say the Miami Heat too, and I know that wouldn't work either because the style of basketball that they play requires you to not kind of have a very ball dominant player because they play that same system that Memphis was running last year. So that would require such a culture shift. Another name that I see that's starting to make waves on the trade block from the Kings. Mo, do you think there's a team out there that could take a long, hard look at Sabonis? Very challenging player to build around.
Yes. If you're building around him, it's a challenge. But if you're adding him to a core that already has a star and you're asking him to be more of a complementary player, he's terrific. He would be terrific in that role. If Sabonis is your second or third option, you're a title contender. If he's your best player, you're a play-in contender. So I think he has value in the right role. There's a lot of talk about Mike Brown's system and what it means for a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. Well, Sabonis runs that system probably better than Towns does because he's a better rebounder and a better facilitator. The downside is he doesn't have Towns' range, and as bad as the defender as Towns is, Sabonis is actually not any better. So I don't know where you would want Sabonis because you would have to flank him with elite perimeter talent because he's not a great defender in his own right.
I think that's just what makes building around Sabonis so hard. It's not the offensive talent. he's just one of those bigs that you actually have to surround with size because he's not going to protect the rim. He's a very strong rebounder, but you're not going to get rim protection. He isn't really stopping anybody there, so
Right.
you'd almost need like a Aaron Gordon type forward to cover up for his defensive deficiencies. So
Yeah, that's a good call. You would need an Aaron Gordon or two aliens that are not available. One would be Wimby and the other would be Chet Holmgren. You would need that to cover his backside, and they're not available. But yeah, look, he's a really good basketball player. What bugs me about Sacramento is I feel like they have a rebuild like every other season. So yes, they're moving away from Sabonis, but you're going to keep the guard combination of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're doing. Like, think about what they have right now. They've got LaVine, DeRozan, Westbrook, and Dennis Schroeder. Like, you're not building for the future. If the guys I just named, they're all 30 and over. What is your plan?
it feels like that it's been like 15 years since the Kings made their last playoff appearance. It's wild to think that was only like 2 years ago.
Right. How'd they go from lighting the beam to blowing out the candle? How'd they go to that quick? How'd it change that quick?
Yeah, I think the Kings are going to be a team to look at. Look, if I'm another team, I'm calling about. I think this is another name that could be on the move. Keon Ellis, man. I don't know why he's not getting more run. He's their probably best 3-and-D wing on that roster. Very talented player. He can get a little handsy. He can get into foul trouble, but man, if I'm a team, I'm calling about him at the deadline because they just seem to forget he's there and they just run these super old lineups. And you're at a certain point, it's just like, so who are you trying to develop with these lineups? Yeah, they just got to blow it up at this point and go get the guy.
That's all I'm saying. They have a lot of players that could be valuable pieces elsewhere, but that core, that construction that they've put together, the I guess the high end of that would be getting you into the play-in. You know what I mean? And I don't know how that can be your goal. I just, like I said, I look at certain teams and certain franchises. I don't understand what their plan is. What is your end game when the core that you have right now is 30 and over? I mean, I believe Sabonis might be younger than that. He might be like 28, 29, but I'm talking about the other guys around him. DeMar's got to be at least 35. LaVine's 30. Westbrook's 37. Schroeder's got to be 32, 33. Like, what is happening in Sacramento? It's like they're doing Cocoon Part 3.
Hey, they got to get minutes for that young up-and-comer Russell Westbrook.
Who, by the way, Russ is a unique dude. Every time somebody wants to write him off, he goes somewhere, and he's actually played really well for the Kings. I mean, Russ is balling.
Give him all the credit in the world. He's all of a sudden, I think the last time I checked, he's shooting like 3% from three. He's shooting the deep ball very well. He's going to make himself a valuable target come the trade deadline. But also, we'll see if the Kings are willing to get rid of him. And it's weird to say that, but that just seems like the most Kings move to have deals on the table and be like, you know what? Nah, we want to keep this play-in push going.
Right. And look, that's the enigma part. That's what makes Russell Westbrook an enigma, is because he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, but there's been so many times that people have written him off the last few years. And right now, he's playing at a really high level for the Kings. And the question is going to be, how many teams are going to be like, is Russ available for a trade deadline? And I'm like, are there going to be a lot of teams? Because who's really in the market for a 37-year-old point guard who you can tell me he's shooting 40+% from three right now, but if we know what he's been for the breadth of his career, how long do you think that 43% is going to hold up?
Hey, you know what? I feel like if it holds up at least until the trade deadline, there might be somebody who talks themselves into, yeah, this is Russ now. Is he a good 3-point shooter? So if it keeps going on, at least until like mid-January, we get like half that season sample. Then I think a team might buy into this idea.
That's a what I mean, we are really in the upside down where Russell Westbrook is the better shooter between him and Klay Thompson. It's not even close.
Yeah, yeah. I hope Clay goes somewhere else. He's checked out. He's just done. You can just tell that guy doesn't want to be in Dallas anymore. And to be
Right.
fair, I wouldn't either. I came to play with Luca, not deal with whatever's going on right now.
And
So I hope he could go get this chance.
I'm not writing him off. Look, I hope that when they do, if and when they move off of Clay, he can go somewhere that still fits his skill set, because I still think he has basketball in him. Remember, Clay's missing open shots. This isn't even about him not getting opportunities. He's just not shooting well. I have to believe somewhere else in a better system surrounded by better players, Klay Thompson can still be an impactful player in a certain role.
Hey, you can go get go send him to LA, reunite him with Luca.
I'm not opposed to that, because even though the Lakers are currently, I believe they're 7-3, they don't have a lot of shooting on that roster. Now Jake LaRavia has shot the ball well, very, very well. You've got Austin Reeves, you've got Luca, but they don't have a lot of shooting overall on that roster. I think Klay Thompson will be a welcome addition.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, even when you played with Luca last year, even the hurt version, he was still like a 38, 39% shooter with him on the court.
Right.
So, yeah, I think he's still at least got a shot. It just feels like that he doesn't really care right now.
He's living in life. He's winning in life, right? He's got Meg. He's good.
Yeah, no, he's chilling.
Let me ask you something. If I told you that 10 games into the season, when you look at the roster top to bottom, that the Phoenix Suns would be 5-5, would you say they under or overachieve? Because I would actually say that roster being 5-5 is kind of an overachievement.
I would say that's overachieving, absolutely. Especially too, since Jalen Green's missed all but like one game. Yeah, I think that's a team that has completely overachieved so far, and I'm happy for them. That's good for Phoenix. They can maybe sneak into a play-in spot, but granted, I still think they're closer to missing the playoffs altogether and playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, they've exceeded expectations so far. D-Books look great, like he's taken another leap as a passer. They're moving the ball well. They're playing as a team.
Book's one of my favorite players. I want him to go somewhere where he can be impactful in the postseason, because he's literally right at the peak in terms of his prime and his career. And I don't want his prime to be wasted on a team that might be a play-in team or not. I would rather him go somewhere to have an opportunity to really compete. I know Phoenix wants to hold on to him because he's a superstar. You don't just want to get rid of superstars. But if you're realistic about your franchise and where it's going or where it's not going, the best thing the Suns could do is to acquire as many picks as possible, because they need a full-on rebuild. And Devin Booker, who's still in his prime, needs to go somewhere where he can contend for a title.
Yeah, absolutely. D-Book in the playoffs is always fun. Just time and time again, I watch him rise to the occasion. I think he's one of the playoff risers that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it's because people, when they think about him, that Game 7 against Luca kind of destroyed his playoff PR, it felt like. But at the end of the day, every time I watch D-Book in the playoffs, he's elevating his game like a true, superstar would. So I hope we get to see more playoff Book soon.
Yeah, and look, Luka's got the better of a lot of people in Game 7s. I mean, if you go down his list of guys that he's gotten, yeah, he got Book, he got Anthony Edwards too. Like, he's gotten a few people. Look, say what you want about Luka, in big games, the guy's got ice in his veins.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a couple more of those this year. It's gonna be a fun playoff picture. I'm curious to see where the Lakers end up in the playoff picture. I'm guessing they'll be top 3 again. This is a team that I got to give them all the credit in the world. They're missing LeBron, they missed Luka, and they didn't miss a beat. So they obviously suffered a pretty brutal loss at the hands of the Hawks in the last game. But overall, I don't know about you, Mo, but I would say the Lakers have kind of overachieved so far when you think about the injuries that they're dealing with.
They definitely overachieved because they're not whole. They've kind of been like flipping between LeBron's been out all year. Luka's been out. Austin Reeves carried the show. Then Luka comes back, and then Reeves is gone, and he's carried the show. And they found a way to win games. I think when they're whole, meaning LeBron's back, Reeves back, everybody is healthy. I think this is a top 5 team in the West. I do. I don't think they could beat. There's certain teams that just feel like bad matchups for them. I think Denver's a bad matchup for them. I think Oklahoma City is a bad matchup for them as currently constructed. But they could upset a young Spurs team. Like I said, I think the Spurs will have a better record, but if the Lakers were to beat them in the playoffs, I think that's an interesting series where I would still lean towards the veteran Lakers team with all that playoff experience versus a young Spurs team that, it's one of those, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, I don't expect the Spurs to go that deep into the playoffs just because we're looking at a young team. A lot of those guys are going to be getting their first games of playoff experience. So, yeah, if we got a Lakers-Spurs matchup in the playoffs, I'd probably side with the Lakers. Great. It'd be a fun one. I'd love to see a 7-game series between those two teams.
And it might be a great series. Look, just the idea of how the Lakers would try to pull Wemby away from the basket, but you forget that he covers so much ground, man. When you pull him away from the basket, he can recover so quick. Like, he doesn't move like your typical big. Wemby moves more like a small forward, but with all that great length. So the funny thing about the Spurs, as we're watching this team develop, they're not nearly as good now as I think they'll be in the second half of the season.
No, fair enough. I say I'm looking forward to seeing how my Bucks do. They're coming off a loss to Houston. We got a game against Dallas, I believe, tonight. So a little quick bounce back opportunity and against the Mavericks, which is a perfect get right game. Definitely think that we got to pursue some more size on the wings with the injury to Prince, even if it's temporarily. But overall, I'm satisfied with the way my Bucks are performing so far.
I'm curious because I like the way your Bucks are performing. I think they're in a good position. I like the rotation that they have. I like the implementation of some of the younger players. Rollins, you can see the talent. It's there. And when he's in rhythm, he's just a talented guy, talented kid. Let me ask you this. It's early. We're 10 games into the season, more or less. If I said, give me your MVP favorites early, for me, it's almost like wash, rinse, repeat. If you said early into the season, I'd give you 3 familiar names. I'd give you Giannis, Joker, and SGA. And I really that would be my top 3.
Yeah, Giannis, Joker, SGA, of course.
And you can throw Wemby in there.
I'll say Wemby's making a push to enter the conversation. It almost just feels like that those 3 might be the top 3 MVP candidates until the voters get bored and vote them out.
Yeah, I think the only guys that can interrupt that top 3 are Wemby, and I'm going to throw in Luka. Maybe Luka.
Yeah, say it. You listening to that assortment of names, Mo, it feels like that it's going to be a while until we get another American, foreign MVP. I know a lot of people discuss how the foreign players are kind of taking over the league. I'm kind of curious when the next time we'll get an American-born MVP will be. That'll be interesting to see if anybody can take that leap.
Well, the funny thing is, if somebody takes that leap, they got to leap over 5 guys, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the crazy part. The five, I guess, statistically dominant players in the NBA are all foreign players. And what American player ranks close to that top 5? Off the top of my head, I don't know of any that rank anywhere near them.
Say, hey, you know what? I think somebody was going to have a. Sorry about that. Player who maybe has a. Tatum is a guy. Fair enough.
I would say Tatum, but I don't count him because I'm one of those people. I don't think Tatum's going to play this year. I actually hope he doesn't play this year because I want him to be 110% healthy. Yeah, Tatum is one of my guys that I will put there as an American player. But again, even if I put him up there, would I put him ahead of all of those guys? Like you could make an argument he could be ahead of Wemby, maybe even ahead of Luka. I don't think you can make an argument for him to be ahead of the other 3.
Hey, when it comes to candidates this year, I think you can argue that the 5 spot could possibly go to Cade Cunningham so far. What a terrific start to the season he's been having.
Cade is the problem. Look, on a better team, Devin Booker's averaging 29 points and 8 assists. A better team, Book could elevate himself into that conversation.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just the league is in such good hands going into the future. So I'm looking forward to the continued development of these young guys, and we got some special prospects coming up with from college. Darren Peterson, the son of Carlos Boozer, Cameron Boozer. Yeah. A lot of great talent coming up. So but that's kind of all I had for us today, Mo. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
No, I appreciate Kyle, Jory, everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon. An afternoon version of N1, which, by the way, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. I don't know if this is a regular thing, but it just goes to show you we'll give it to you in the daytime and one at night. You just never know when we're going to show up. Appreciate my partner for taking time out of his one day off to jump on and do N1. Appreciate you, partner.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be doing the Meaty Boys podcast, which is normally tonight. We'll be mixing it in when we do the morning show on Friday. It'll be like a half morning show, half Meaty Boys.
I like it.
Had to move things around. Tonight's Packers-Eagles, so gotta go watch us beat Philly before we go march on and lose to the Russell Wilson-led Giants next week.
Yeah, because I'm putting money on Russ and them. Yeah.
If you watch enough Packer games, you know exactly what's going to happen. So, that being said, thank you for everybody for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.